I thought taking a DNA test would be fun, maybe find some distant cousins or learn I'm 2% Viking. Instead, I got a call that made my mother collapse in our kitchen. My name is Brenna. I'm 28 years old and I teach 3rd grade at Willow Creek Elementary. My life was completely normal until 3 months ago when I spit into a tube and mailed it off to learn about my ancestry. My mother, Nadine, the woman who taught me to tie my shoes and braid my hair, who never missed a single soccer game or school play, was standing at our kitchen sink when the phone rang. She dropped an entire stack of her grandmother's china plates. They shattered across the floor in 1,000 pieces, just like our perfect family was about to. My father, Vernon, stood frozen in the doorway, still holding his toolbox from fixing the garage door. He's fixed everything in our house for 30 years, but the look on his face told me this was something he couldn't repair with his hands. My little sister Piper, home from college for spring break, grabbed my arm so tight she left marks. She's only 19, but sometimes she sees things the rest of us miss. The woman on the phone said 7 words that destroyed 28 years of my life. "We need you to meet us immediately." Then she sent a photo from 1997, a baby in a cradle on someone's porch, with a note that said just one word: run. That baby was me. And the people I'd called Mom and Dad my entire life, they knew. They'd always known. But the worst part came when Piper, sweet little Piper who still sleeps with her childhood teddy bear, whispered something that made my blood turn cold. Tell her about the man who still comes on her birthday. My mother started sobbing. My father walked out of the room, and I realized that every single person in my family had been keeping secrets that were about to destroy us all. This is the story of how a fun DNA test revealed that my entire life was a lie, and how the truth was more dangerous than I could have ever imagined. Tuesday afternoons were my favorite. The kids had gone home, the classroom was quiet, and I could sit at my desk with a cup of coffee and actually finish grading papers without someone asking to use the bathroom every 5 minutes. That particular Tuesday in March, I had 23 book reports about butterflies spread across my desk, and my phone kept buzzing with notifications I'd been ignoring all day. When I finally checked, my heart jumped. The email I'd been waiting 6 weeks for had arrived. "Your DNA results are ready." I immediately called my mother. She answered on the first ring, like she always did. "Mom, guess what came in?" I said, already packing up my papers. "Please tell me you're finally dating someone," she said, and I could hear her smiling through the phone. "That nice math teacher is still single, you know." "Better than a boyfriend. My DNA results. I'm coming over so we can check them together." "Oh, wonderful. Maybe we'll finally prove my theory about the Irish heritage. Your grandfather always insisted his mother was from Dublin, but nobody believed him." The drive to my childhood home took 12 minutes. I knew every crack in those suburban streets, every house along Maple Avenue. Mrs. Chen was watering her roses like she did every evening. The Morrison kids were playing basketball in their driveway. Everything was exactly as it had been for the past 2 decades. Our yellow house sat at the end of the cul-de-sac with the wraparound porch my father had built the summer I turned 10. Mom's tomato plants were already starting to bloom in the garden boxes along the front walk. The kitchen window was open, and I could smell dinner cooking, pot roast, which meant she'd been home from her shift at the hospital early. Inside, the house hummed with its usual activity. Dad was on his back under the kitchen sink, fixing a cabinet door that had been loose since Christmas. His tool belt sprawled across the floor like he'd been there a while. "Hi, sweetheart," he called out, not bothering to slide out. "Your mother's got me fixing everything she's been saving up for months." "That's because you keep saying tomorrow, and tomorrow never comes," Mom shot back, stirring something on the stove. Piper sat at the kitchen table. Textbooks spread everywhere, but her attention focused on painting her nails a shade of blue so bright it hurt to look at. "Please tell me you found out we're secretly royal," she said without looking up. "I could use a trust fund right about now. College is expensive." "Well, let's find out," I said, pulling out my laptop. Mom wiped her hands on her apron and came to stand behind me. Dad finally emerged from under the sink, brushing dust from his hair. Even Piper put down her nail polish. The website loaded slowly, building anticipation. Finally, the results page appeared. The ethnicity breakdown was exactly what we'd expected. 47% German, 31% English, 18% Scandinavian, 4% broadly Northwestern European. No Irish, Mom said, sounding genuinely disappointed. Your grandfather is rolling in his grave. Wait, there's more, I said, scrolling down. Look, they show DNA matches to other users. Maybe we have some long-lost cousins. That's when I saw it. A red banner across the top of the page that I'd never seen on the website before. Urgent law enforcement match requires immediate contact. The kitchen went silent. Dad's wrench hitting the tile floor sounded like thunder. That's probably a mistake, honey, Mom said, but her voice had changed. These websites always have glitches. Remember when Amazon told me I'd ordered 50 pounds of birdseed? This doesn't look like a glitch, I said, clicking on the message. The text was brief and formal. Your DNA profile has matched evidence in an active investigation. Please contact Detective Rochelle Vance immediately at the following number. Time-sensitive response required. Active investigation? Piper read over my shoulder. That sounds like a crime show. Did you secretly murder someone, Brenna? That's not funny, Dad said sharply, which was strange because he usually laughed at Piper's dark humor. Should I call? I asked, looking at each of them. Mom had moved to the sink, gripping the edge of the counter. Dad stood perfectly still, like he was afraid to move. Only Piper seemed genuinely curious rather than concerned. Maybe it's something simple, Mom said. Maybe you're related to someone who witnessed something. These things are usually nothing. But the way she said it, the way her knuckles had gone white against the counter, told me she didn't believe her own words. Something in that moment shifted. The kitchen I'd eaten thousands of meals in suddenly felt different. The faces of my family, so familiar I could draw them with my eyes closed, seemed to be holding expressions I'd never seen before. I dialed the number. The phone rang once before a woman answered with a voice that sounded like she'd been waiting for my call. This is Detective Rochelle Vance, Cold Case Unit. Am I speaking with Brenna Hartley? Yes, I just got a message to contact you about my DNA test. Brenna, I need to verify some information first. You submitted your DNA to the Ancestry database on January 15th of this year, correct? Yes, but what's this about? Am I in some kind of trouble? You're not in trouble, but your DNA matches evidence from a 1997 case, a case involving an abandoned infant in Portland, Oregon. The words hit me like physical blows. Abandoned. Infant. 1997. The year I was born. There's been a mistake, I said. I was born at Riverside Hospital right here in Ohio. My parents are standing right here with me. May I speak with them? Mom grabbed the phone from my hand with a desperation I'd never seen from her. This is Nadine Hartley. There's obviously been some confusion. Brenna is my daughter. I gave birth to her on September 15th, 1997. I have the birth certificate, the hospital records, everything. I couldn't hear what the detective said, but I watched my mother's face crumble like wet sand. She handed the phone back to me and walked to the table, sinking into a chair. Brenna, Detective Vance continued, I'm sending you a photograph from a security camera. It was taken on September 15th, 1997. I need you to look at it and stay on the line with me. My phone buzzed. I opened the attachment with shaking fingers. The black and white image was grainy but clear enough. A wooden cradle sat on a porch. Inside, wrapped in a pink blanket, was a baby. A note was pinned to the blanket, and though the image was old, I could make out one word in large, desperate letters. Run. The timestamp in the corner read, September 15th, 1997, 3:47 a.m. Do you see it? The detective asked. Yes, I whispered. The couple who found that baby called 911 at 3:52 a.m. They ran a daycare center from their home. When they saw the note, they thought someone was in danger. Piper had moved beside me, staring at the photo. Mom, she said quietly, why do you look like you've seen a ghost? Dad walked out of the room, just turned and left without a word. Detective Vance continued, the note wasn't just run. When the officers arrived and examined it closely, the full message read, run. They're coming for all of us. Keep her safe. Never let her know. Mom made a sound I'd never heard before, something between a gasp and a sob. We were supposed to keep it forever. The box in the attic. We were supposed to keep it forever. Mrs. Hartley, the detective's voice sharpened. Are you telling me you know something about this case? I looked at my mother, this woman who had braided my hair for picture day, who had held me through chicken pox and heartbreaks and college rejections. Her face was streaked with tears. Mom, I said, what box? Now what are you talking about? Dad returned, carrying a shoebox wrapped in plastic. His hands trembled as he set it on the table. We took an oath, he said to Mom. We swore we'd never tell her. Tell me what? My voice cracked. What oath? What is happening? Detective Vance was still on speaker. Mr. and Mrs. Hartley, I need you to understand the gravity of this situation. We've been searching for this child for 27 years. Her biological parents were murdered 3 days after she was abandoned. Murdered. The word echoed in the kitchen. Piper, who had been uncharacteristically quiet, suddenly stood up. Tell her about the man. Everyone turned to stare at her. What man? I asked. Every year on your birthday, Piper said, looking directly at me, a man sits in a blue sedan outside our house. He's been coming since I was 5 years old, maybe longer. Mom and Dad told me never to mention it. They said it was nothing, just a neighbor, but neighbors don't sit in their cars for exactly 1 hour watching someone's house. Piper, stop, Mom pleaded. No, she deserves to know. He comes every single year, 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. He just sits there watching. Detective Vance's voice became urgent. Can you describe this man? Tall, gray hair now, but I remember when it was black. He has a scar through his left eyebrow. He never gets out of the car, just sits there, sometimes crying. There was a pause on the line. Then Detective Vance spoke in a tone that made my blood freeze. I need you all to leave your house immediately. That man you're describing is supposed to be in federal prison. If he's been watching you, if he knows where you are, then you're all in danger. The kitchen erupted in chaos, but all I could do was stare at the photo of the baby on the porch, wondering how my entire life had become a lie in the span of a single phone call. We're not going anywhere until someone tells me the truth, I said, my voice stronger than I felt. Mom, Dad, what's in that box? Detective Vance was still on speaker. Brenna, I understand you want answers, but if this man has been surveilling your home, you need to leave immediately. I'm dispatching units to your location now. Dad's hands shook as he unwrapped the plastic from the shoebox. We can talk in the car. We need to pack. No. I slammed my hand on the table, making everyone jump. 28 years of lies, and you want me to just run? Open the box. Mom looked at Dad, some silent communication passing between them. Finally, he lifted the lid. Inside were documents, yellowed with age. Adoption papers dated September 20th, 1997, 5 days after the porch incident. But these weren't normal adoption papers. Every page bore official stamps I'd only seen in movies: Federal Witness Protection Program, United States Marshal Service, sealed by federal court order. Your birth parents were government witnesses, Dad said, his voice hollow. They were murdered 3 days after leaving you on that porch. The room spun. I gripped the table edge to steady myself. You knew. This whole time you knew I wasn't yours. You are ours, Mom said fiercely. In every way that matters. You are our daughter. But not biologically. Not really. I pulled the papers toward me, scanning the redacted text. Most of it was blacked out, but I could see dates, official seals, and my name. Except it wasn't Brenna. It was something else, completely obscured by black ink. We were told you'd be killed if anyone found out, Mom said. We were your only chance at a normal life. The Marshal Service came to us because we couldn't have children. They said you needed parents who could love you and protect you and never, ever tell you the truth. Piper stood up slowly. Tell her about the man who comes on her birthday. We told you about him, Dad said. No. Tell her the truth about him. Tell her why you made me promise never to mention it. Tell her why you cry every year after he leaves. Mom's face went white. How do you know I cry? Because I watch everything, Piper said. I've been watching everything since I was old enough to understand that we weren't a normal family. The self-defense classes you enrolled us in. The way Dad checks every lock 3 times before bed. The panic room in the basement you think we don't know about. There's a panic room in our basement? I asked. Detective Vance interrupted. Blue sedan, gray-haired man with a scar through his left eyebrow? You said he comes every year? Like clockwork, Piper confirmed. September 15th, 3 to 4 p.m. That's in 3 weeks, the detective said. But if he's who I think he is, he shouldn't be able to come at all. He should be in ADX Florence, maximum security federal prison. Dad pulled another item from the box, a photograph. This came with you. It was in your blanket. The photo showed a young couple, both in their 20s. The woman had my exact nose, my same green eyes. The man's smile was familiar too, though I'd never seen it before. On the back, in neat handwriting, "Our little warrior. Until we meet again." They were FBI agents, Dad said, deep undercover in a trafficking ring. They saved 14 children before their cover was blown. The syndicate ordered hits on their entire bloodline. Anyone related to them would be killed. The man in the blue sedan, Mom said quietly. We were told he was a federal agent assigned to check on you, to make sure you were safe. We were told never to acknowledge him, never to approach him. But you don't believe that anymore, I said, reading her face. Not after what happened last month. What happened last month? Mom and Dad exchanged another look. There was a news story about a massive federal raid on a trafficking ring. The leader was captured, the same organization your birth parents were investigating. Detective Vance's typing was audible through the phone. Mrs. Hartley, what was the date of that news story? February 12th. The man in the blue sedan, the detective said slowly. When did you last see him? Piper answered. Yesterday. He was parked across the street when I came home from class, but it wasn't September 15th. He's never come in March before. Pack immediately, Detective Vance ordered. Only essentials. I need you at the police station in 15 minutes. Do not stop anywhere. Do not call anyone. Do not post anything online. If this man has broken his pattern, it means something has changed. And in cases like this, change is never good. Dad was already moving, grabbing a bag from the closet. Mom pulled Piper toward the stairs. But I stood frozen, staring at the photo of parents I'd never known, wondering who I really was. Brenna, Detective Vance said, I know this is overwhelming, but right now, staying alive is more important than getting answers. Those will come, I promise. I picked up the photograph of my birth parents and slipped it into my pocket. We're leaving now. We threw clothes into bags without folding them. Dad grabbed the box of documents and Mom's jewelry case. Piper packed her laptop and phone chargers. I couldn't think straight enough to pack anything useful, just grab my purse and the photo album from the living room shelf. We were in the garage within 7 minutes. That's when we saw the blue sedan pulling into our driveway. Get in the car, Dad ordered, but it was too late. The sedan blocked our only exit. The man stepped out slowly, hands visible. He wasn't what I expected from someone supposedly dangerous. He was crying, tears streaming down his weathered face. The scar through his left eyebrow was prominent, but his expression was pure grief, not menace. Brenna, he called out. My God, you look just like your mother. Dad stepped in front of me. Stay back, the police are on their way. I know, the man said. I called them myself. They need to know I'm here. Brenna, my name is Thomas Brenner. I'm your uncle. Your mother was my sister. Police sirens wailed in the distance, getting closer. Within seconds, 3 patrol cars screeched into our driveway, officers emerging with weapons drawn. Hands up! On your knees! They shouted. Thomas Brenner raised his hands but remained standing. I'm Federal Agent Thomas Brenner, FBI badge number 24,847. Detective Vance knows I'm here. Check with her. My phone rang. Detective Vance was calling back. Brenna, are you safe? The man is here. He says he's FBI. He says he's my uncle. Don't move. I'm checking his credentials now. The longest 30 seconds of my life passed before she spoke again. He's telling the truth. Agent Brenner is FBI. Deep cover for 30 years. Tell the officers to stand down. I relayed the message, and slowly, reluctantly, the officers lowered their weapons but maintained their positions. Thomas Brenner looked at me with eyes I recognized. My eyes. My mother's eyes. "I've been protecting you for 28 years, he said. "Every birthday I came to make sure you were safe, to see how you'd grown. Your parents, your birth parents, they were my partners in the FBI. But more than that, your mother Claire was my little sister." "The detective said you were supposed to be in prison," Dad challenged. "That was my cover. Thomas Brenner, the corrupt federal agent sentenced to life in ADX Florence. It let me disappear from the syndicate's radar while still being able to monitor their activities. But I was never in prison. I was working to destroy them from the shadows." Mom stepped forward. "You're the one who called Vernon that night. You're the one who brought Brenna to us." He nodded. "Claire called me when she knew they'd been compromised. She was sobbing. Said they had hours at most. She and David had already prepared. They knew this day might come. I told them about you, Vernon and Nadine. You helped me with another case years before. Your brother, Vernon, I saved him from a kidnapping ring." "That was you?" Dad's voice broke. "The agent who rescued Tommy?" "I knew I could trust you with my niece's life. Claire and David drove through 3 states that night, switching cars twice. They left Brenna on that daycare porch because it was a safe public place with cameras. They wanted evidence she'd been abandoned, not killed. The note was meant to make the daycare call police immediately." "But why not come forward after they died?" I asked. "Why let me grow up not knowing?" "Because the syndicate leader, Marcus Volkov, had a network that reached into every federal database. If your name appeared anywhere as their child, you'd be dead within days. The only way to keep you safe was to make you disappear completely, become someone else entirely." Detective Vance's voice came through the phone. "Agent Brenner, why break protocol now?" "Why reveal yourself?" "Because Marcus Volkov was captured last month. But more importantly, because he made a deal. He's providing information about other syndicate members in exchange for a reduced sentence. Those members will be looking for leverage, and rumors have surfaced about a surviving child. Brenna's DNA test triggered alerts in systems I monitor. If I found her, others will too." "So I'm still in danger," I said. "No," Thomas said firmly. "Because the FBI is done hiding you. We're done letting them control our lives through fear. Your parents didn't just save 14 children, Brenna. The intelligence they gathered before they died has been used to save hundreds more. They documented everything: routes, contacts, financial records. Even knowing they'd been marked for death, they spent their last hours uploading everything to secure servers." He pulled out his phone and showed me a photograph. 14 adults stood together at what looked like a reunion. "These are the children your parents saved. They're all grown now, with families of their own. They gather every year on September 15th to honor Claire and David." Piper spoke up. "Why didn't you ever approach us? Why just watch?" "Because loving someone sometimes means staying away. Every time I saw Brenna laugh with you, play in this yard, graduate from high school, I knew Claire and David's sacrifice meant something. She got to have the normal life they wanted for her." "But it was all a lie," I said. "No," Mom said, taking my hand. "The love was never a lie. We may have kept secrets, but every birthday cake, every bedtime story, every proud moment at your school plays, that was all real." Thomas reached into his jacket slowly, aware of the police still watching. He pulled out a locket. "This was your mother's. She wore it every day until the night she left you. Inside is the only picture they had together after you were born." I opened it. My birth parents smiled back at me, and between them, a baby with the same green eyes we all shared. 3 months have passed since that day in our driveway. The FBI moved quickly to secure our safety, and Marcus Volkov's syndicate crumbled faster than anyone expected. Turns out, when criminals learn their leader is trading their names for a lighter sentence, loyalty disappears overnight. Today I stood at Riverside Cemetery in Portland, Oregon, looking at 2 headstones I never knew existed. Claire and David Brenner, my birth parents. The FBI had buried them under their real names once the case was closed. Thomas stood beside me along with Mom, Dad, and Piper. We'd become an unusual family, but a real one. "They would have loved to see who you became," Thomas said, placing fresh roses on their graves. Behind us, car doors opened and closed. 14 adults walked toward us, some with children of their own. These were the people my birth parents had saved from shipping containers and basement prisons when they were just kids. Now they were teachers, doctors, mechanics, parents themselves. A woman approached me directly. She looked about 40, with kind eyes and calloused hands. I was 7 when your parents pulled me from a shipping container in Seattle. I'd been there for 6 days. Your mother held me while I cried. She sang to me in the ambulance. I named my daughter Hope because that's what they gave me. One by one, they shared their stories. A man who became a social worker, a woman who now runs a shelter for trafficking victims. Each life saved had gone on to save others. The ripple effect of my birth parents' sacrifice spread wider than I could have imagined. Back home in Ohio, everything looked the same but felt different. I returned to teaching 3rd grade, but with new awareness. Vernon had taught me self-defense disguised as fun exercise every Saturday for years. Nadine's seemingly overprotective rules about checking in weren't paranoia but precision. Even Piper's exceptional observation skills made sense now. She'd been trained to notice details since childhood without realizing she was part of our protection. We turned fear into skills, Dad explained one evening at dinner. Instead of making you afraid of the world, we taught you to be capable in it. The blue sedan doesn't park outside anymore. Instead, Thomas visits openly every Sunday. He brings files sometimes, showing me the ongoing work to protect children. The FBI offered me a position as a consultant, recognizing that my unique experience and teaching background could help recovered children adjust to new lives. Your parents would be proud, Thomas said last week, watching me work with a 6-year-old girl recently recovered from a trafficking ring. You're continuing their work in your own way. Piper decided to change her major to criminal justice. Turns out I've been training for this my whole life, she said. Might as well make it official. The shoebox from the attic now sits on my bookshelf, no longer hidden. Inside, along with the documents, we added new photos. Pictures of all 6 of us. The family built on secrets that became a family built on truth. The locket from my birth mother hangs next to a necklace Nadine gave me for my 16th birthday. 2 mothers, both real, both mine. Last week, Detective Vance called with an update. Volkov's testimony has led to 47 arrests across 6 countries. Your family's story, Brenna, is helping us change how we protect witnesses' children. No more complete isolation, no more total lies. Connection and truth, balanced with safety. The doorbell rang during dinner yesterday. We all tensed for a moment, old habits dying hard. But it was just a delivery. Thomas laughed, the sound still new and wonderful in our house. We're going to be jumping at doorbells for years? Better than not jumping at all, Mom said, and she was right. I look at my students differently now. 23 8-year-olds who trust me to teach them about butterflies and multiplication. But I also watch for signs others might miss. The quiet ones who flinch at loud noises. The ones who know too much about staying invisible. I can't save them all, but I can notice them. I can be what someone was for me, a safe adult in a dangerous world. The DNA test that started this journey sits framed on my wall, not for the ethnicity percentages or ancestral maps, but as a reminder that sometimes the truth finds you when you're ready for it. My parents, all 4 of them, made sure I was strong enough when that day came. Some people search for their identity in DNA tests. I found mine in the love of strangers who became family, and the family who became my heroes. I learned that running isn't always about fear. Sometimes it's about running towards something better. My birth parents ran to save me. My adoptive parents ran with the weight of secrets to protect me. And now I run forward, carrying all their love and sacrifice into a future they made possible. That's my story. If you found value in it, please hit that like button and share it with someone who needs to hear that families are built on love, not just blood. Leave a comment below about your own family, biological or chosen. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel for more stories that remind us how extraordinary ordinary people can be.